Okay, so last week it was kind of like this that we left on a cliffhanger because I remember when I finished reading 18, I skipped ahead to 19 because it's kind of like, wait, what's going to happen? So,
Yeah.
Hezekiah.
Well, before Hezekiah, it's worth just reminding ourselves. Last week we read about the downfall of Israel, right? And so
The Northern Kingdom.
the Northern Kingdom, and they were split: Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom. Southern Kingdom is mostly just Judah, where Jerusalem is, and so Israel was conquered, carried off into exile,
Scattered,
and new people brought in, and
yeah,
pick up in Jesus' day. Those are the Samaritans.
yep.
And then we began reading the story of Hezekiah, who,
Good king.
yeah, good king. Did I ever talk about the professor I had that would, anytime you get to someone in the Bible, he asks, good guy, bad guy? That always goes through my mind when I read.
That's funny.
Good guy, bad guy. And Hezekiah, good guy.
Good guy.
He didn't just do what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He also tore down the high places.
Yeah.
He's the king that's most like David since David.
Yeah.
He's considered sort of a new David.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Was it, and then who was it that, that guy. Yeah. I wrote really bad next to him. I'm like, sorry.
We're
Later
about
on.
to get there.
We're going to get there. Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry.
He's a really bad guy. Good guy, but really
And
bad.
I thought we had read about some bad guys, but that
Well,
guy.
it is
You're talking about
interesting.
Manasseh probably
Yeah,
in 21.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're at the end, and you have really good guys. You're like,
Yep.
okay, this is like a new David. He's actually finally turned down the high places. He really actually is trying to get rid of idolatry. And then but we're still not finished with these cycles.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
but it's hopeful. It's hopeful right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's going to be a rough one. We started a little bit earlier this morning.
It is an early start.
My Dr. Pepper, hold on.
Sorry. This is my
They
fault.
wake up no, it's all right. Normally I'm awake. Normally I can get up early and go, but that's what Lance said too. He's like, this one might be
Before you
rough.
walked in, I said, this is going to be a rough one. Okay.
Okay, so Hezekiah, we have this prayer in here that reads similar to I don't want to say like Hannah, like just all these other. It's just a different type of literature that just kind of pops in the middle of this history.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Incline
So-
your ear. Yeah.
And it's like a kind of this is probably important or this is meaningful or I
It
don't know.
is. It's language that we've heard before, but not in a long time. And so
Yeah.
it really should. This is a king who really is seeking after Yahweh, who wants Yahweh to hear and respond instead of doing things on his own.
Yeah. Okay. So we have that.
You have an interesting story in chapter 20 where the Babylonians come and he shows them around and shows off everything in the storehouses and the temple and all of that. And you do kind of ask yourself, why is
Why
he
is he
doing
showing
this?
them around?
Yeah, I think if you look in your study notes there, it just talks
So
about
here. Yeah.
an act of pride.
Yeah, look
He's
at
proud
us.
of his great
Yeah.
wealth and shows it off. And then Isaiah in verse 16 gives him a warning, and he's like, hey, this is not good. There's coming a day when
We're going to see and take.
that's right. They will see and take because of what they've seen. And again, Hezekiah, this is like the odd part of his story. He goes, that's okay. It won't happen in
I'm
my
okay for
lifetime.
now.
Yeah, it's okay by me because we'll have prosperity in my lifetime, and that happens later. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is another good king, a king like David, but also maybe a little bit selfish.
like David.
Yes.
I mean, remember at the end of David's life, he orders this census to measure. He's like, I want to measure my
I agree.
kingdom.
Yeah.
And so maybe
Good
that's
guy,
a parallel
not
there.
perfect guy.
Right.
Yeah, and it talks about at the end in 20 there, all the deeds that he'd done, which was also interesting because it was such a practical thing, talking about this conduit of water that he installed to
Yeah.
help bring down that's not like that's like a real thing.
Oh yeah.
Like that really.
It's really is land and blessing and
Yeah.
like prospering in the land is all part of it.
But aside from like all the spiritual stuff, like you're reading
Yeah.
about, or like, oh, he's bad, they're killing these people and stuff. But it's like, no, here's this guy who's like, had like the architect of an aqueduct is what
Yeah.
it kind of sound like to bring like water in, and I don't know.
He's
It's
good.
just again another weird interruption. Like, oh well, this isn't just a made up story.
Right.
This- this-
Real things happen.
Yeah, real
this guy
things
really
happen.
did lead the nation.
Yeah,
And it's just good to remember too that really it's it is matter matters, and how we experience blessing is bread and water and health and all those things. Like it shouldn't be disconnected
Yeah.
from how we live our daily lives, because sometimes in our time I think we can sort of disconnect the two. Like, oh, I will say the gospel to you, but you'll be fine. I don't really necessarily have to like give you my money or resources, but it's all connected. It's all part of what God is doing and blessing his, not only his people, but the place. That's
Yeah.
a big part of this story.
but it just speaks to like human flourishing, like civilization.
Yep.
Like this isn't just like, they're not nomads in the desert anymore. I mean, they have like a city with
Yeah.
like infrastructure, and I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
For a second.
it's just for a little bit because it's about to.
It's about to unravel.
Yeah.
You even see at the end of 19 though, just to because we're gonna keep seeing this
19.
Exodus theme. Oh, sorry,
That's all right.
are we already in? Where are y'all?
I was at
20.
the end of 20.
All right, let's just move on.
No. What do we
Well,
see?
there's just these moments when you just notice it's an Exodus story again, And so the angel of the Lord, whenever, yeah,
marking in my notes.
yeah,
like,
whenever he's, the angel of the Lord, goes and just destroys this army that's, besieging them. And it's just a reminder that this is all sort of the same story, but in a different way, whether it's the king or whether it's Yahweh intervening on behalf of them.
yeah.
I think we've talked about the Exodus theme on repeat a lot the last few weeks. And last year, I remember when we did was it last year or earlier this year? I don't remember. But I referenced a book by Michael Morales, who's a biblical scholar. And he wrote, there's a series of commentaries that are real short each one, but they're about a theme. They're called Essential Studies in Biblical Theology. But his book on the Exodus theme and how it is all through Scripture was my favorite book I read last year. So anyway, if anybody's looking for a little extra reading on the Exodus theme and how it shows up,
It's
over
just
and
like
over.
Rachel's not making it up every time.
Yeah,
She's
no.
not making it up. She's just not obsessed with the Exodus story.
Yeah.
Like, man, she's really like into this
Yeah.
Exodus story.
Michael Morales.
So I get one thing I did underline that at the end of 19. So I'll come back there too. Is in verse 30, and it says, "And the surviving remnant of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward." And it just got me thinking. Like recently, you've heard Bruce talk a couple times about this J curve and Jesus in the parable. See, like if it basically like this tiny seed has to like die to grow and like bear fruit. And it's like, oh, that sounds eerily similar there.
Yeah.
That there's going to be this remnant that like,
pruning
ultimately has to die
Yeah.
to take root to turn up to bear much fruit. So I was like, wow, that's cool. So anyway,
That J curve comes from a book
yeah,
by a guy named Paul Miller, and it's called the J curve.
yeah,
And it's about, when you follow Jesus, all of life is about death and new life.
Yeah.
So you die to yourself, and you're connected to the resurrection of Jesus. So
Yeah.
when you die to yourself, you have new life that's greater than before. So
yeah.
great book also.
But that's kind of a picture of what they're at least like foreshadowing here, saying is going to happen. So,
Yep.
Anyway. Okay.
All right, chapter 21, Manasseh reigns in Judah
Yeah, this
after
guy
Hezekiah.
seems to be the worst.
Yeah, right? I
I
mean,
mean, we've read some bad stuff like this. Like it's
He
like
is the worst,
This one,
other
it's
than
like,
Jezebel.
and Ahaz, yeah.
but I feel like this is like stuff like even more like it's referencing all these people that like he's even worse than.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are supposed to be like, this is
Like
this is the worst. I mean, he's sacrificing children. He's
In the temple.
Everything.
in the temple. I mean, he's literally doing everything that they were supposed to be being separate from, being apart from. They're supposed to be a light to the nations. They're supposed to be a blessing, and he's literally just looks like the worst idolatry and kings out there.
Yeah. Chapter 21, verse 4. And he built altars in the house of Yahweh, of which Yahweh said, in Jerusalem I will put my name. And then you just keep reading verse 6. And he burned his son as an offering and used fortune tellers and omens and dealt with mediums and necromancers.
Yeah.
He's
In the
Saul,
temple.
He's, these foreign kings. He's all of the worst in one.
That's what I was saying. Like, there's all these throwbacks and ties
the
to all
mediums,
these, like, before people who are like, God, that's bad stuff.
His name means forgetful or one who forgets. And that's also a running theme throughout Scripture is remembering, over and over this what?
Sorry. You saying like his name means this. I'm just thinking, like, how the heck do you know that? but I'll say, my wife was listening to a
told me this
podcast
the
a
other
couple days ago, and she said, you said something, and like, I questioned it. She's like, are you seriously like questioning? And she's like, right. I was like, I didn't mean to. Isn't that basically the gist
That's what
of
she
it?
said, yeah. She was like listening to it on her way into work.
I do not remember that, but I'm
And-
sure it was
yeah.
wrong.
No,
No,
you said
you were
something.
right. And I'm like,
and
are
Ted's
you
like,
sure? And she's
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me? Why would you say that? Like, what about anything that you guys have been doing for the last couple of years would lead you to believe that she doesn't know
She
what
doesn't.
she's talking about? She's like an expert. So it was just funny that
You're like, I know her better.
Well,
It was
you
like-
said, you just said his name means that. And I'm instantly like, wait, how do you know that? Like, is that for real? Did
Yeah.
you just make that up?
I'm just made it up. I was like,
No.
what can I say on this
Anyway,
podcast this morning?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But it's just really, it's important for us to remember because you see, it's another theme, right? Remember, I am Yahweh
Yeah.
who brought you out of Egypt, who brought you out of slavery. And it's this reminder, it's a lot of what their rituals are about is just remember who God is and what he's done for you. And his name literally means to forget, forgetful one. And so that's what happens to all of us, when we forget. I mean, that's what I was thinking about this week is like, I do that, right? Like I'm not this, archetype of the worst king ever, but I forget all that God has given me, all that he's done for me. And then I try to do my own thing and it just leads to nowhere every time.
The ESV study notes right here in this section, when you get to Josiah, talk about it was like 57 years from Hezekiah to Josiah. So that's a significant chunk of time. And we read about Josiah, we'll get to him in a minute, but he reinstitutes the Passover because the people have forgotten. They are not, and the Passover is meant to remember annually how God rescued them and established them as a people in this land.
Because we need it.
We need it, and they haven't been doing that.
They didn't do it since Judges.
Right.
Yeah.
Judges. He's the first king who institutes the Passover. That's amazing to me. I didn't notice that. Until,
Yeah, that's in the next chapter.
Yeah.
That's where it
Right.
starts.
Well, sorry to jump too far ahead for you.
No, that's all right. No, I would say let's go ahead and
Yeah.
go there because
Yeah.
I think that was, I don't want to say profound, but that was definitely like a big thing. You read 21 and you're like, whoa, this feels like the worst.
It's like
And then-
David,
Yeah.
the worst,
Yeah.
not Josiah.
and then Josiah coming. And I feel like in here, and maybe, Hezekiah, like, did he really like get rid of everything? Because it sounds like Josiah is the one that really gets rid of everything. And like really wrecks shop in all the high place, all the stuff and all the deal. Like,
Yeah, I mean, Hezekiah did, but then they came back.
Then
So then
remember,
he's
we
doing
had
it
this
again.
intervening,
Yeah.
the worst of the worst, who
Yeah.
is actually putting,
Okay. Yeah.
child sacrifice in the temple, and he's replacing all idolatry.
yeah.
So there's lots of time during these reigns.
But the cool thing about this story is like the book of the law, that because it was so bad, like the notes were saying, like maybe it was like hidden and somebody like finds it and brings it to him. And it's like when you hear the gospel, just like how that like penetrates, the heart, like conviction of sin is like boom. And, so he's like, whoa, we need to remember all this and start, repent and believe basically.
Yeah. And through Judges and first and second, like Judges that we've worked through this summer, and then through our series, But as we've read First and Second Kings, that's one of the things we've talked about is the people have forgotten the Lord. And gosh, I was going to say something. I don't remember. I lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
At the beginning, we said that Hezekiah, though, while you're thinking, that he was like David. He's like a new David. But this is the first time in 22:2, it says, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and he walked in all the way of David, his father, and he did not turn aside to the right or to the left. And that's a quote from Deuteronomy when it describes the ideal king, which is a king who doesn't turn from the right or the left. And it's the first one that's said about. So he really is a king who he finds a law and then he tries to obey the law. He institutes Passover. He doesn't turn to the left or the right. And you're like, oh, this is going to be good again. This is going to be the kingdom is going to remain, maybe.
Yeah.
It's new. It's new in lots of ways.
Dude. And I guess maybe we don't go here yet, but what was interesting is how at the end of all this, even like the Passover, that it still was like not enough to satisfy what had been done.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you see all the things that had happened before was like, oh, they got rid of the
high places finally,
this thing, or they only did this, so it did like this feels like a complete dude, he's done it.
Yeah.
And right at the completion of that, it's kind of like, but it wasn't enough to satisfy.
Yeah. What I was going to say a minute ago was that what we see in the people of Israel is that they're not fully devoted to Yahweh. It seems like they want a little bit of what he is offering, and then they want to bring in worship of all the other gods and be like all the other people. And when you get to Josiah, there's this realization like, we've been doing this all wrong.
Yeah.
We can't have both. We can't have it his way and like everyone else. We have to devote ourselves to Yahweh. So it is an attempt to do that, but it's just too late.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
it's too late.
Sorry. 23, verse 25. Before him there was no king like him, who had turned to the Lord with all his heart, with all his soul, and with all his might, according to the law of Moses. So
it really is this. There are so many of those passages in this section about him that you really know he is the ideal king. He's the ideal Israelite. He's really trying to go back to everything that God has called not only the king to be, but this nation to be. And it's still not enough, which is, again, like we've been here before, but it's a hard chapter to read. Like it's not enough.
Well, that's why I was like, again, it's so hopeful. Even right after that, verse 26, this is what I was just talking about. Son goes, still the Lord did not turn from the burning of his great wrath, by which his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. So then he's like, oh.
Yeah.
I will remove Judah also out of my sight.
As I have removed Israel. I mean, so it's coming. Which is so like this is obviously like right before what's going to happen, like Babylon comes in and like takes over. That is like it had to have been. I mean, it was more. It was everything that had built up, but it's specifically saying like here the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. I mean, Manasseh. That's why I was like, oh, he's such a bad dude because like he's the one that like. God's like, okay, I can't go any further. You're the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and then we get to sort of like a parallel of what happened to Israel. It's his sons, right? It doesn't happen right now, but, you start to see sort of the same pattern. There's 3 sieges, it doesn't happen immediately, but it happens. But, I mean, I'll just tell you, when I was, reading through this week, we say like, oh God, God's promises, like we still have seen this. Oh, there's this remnant of David's line, and there's these promises that are unconditional. We know God is going to be faithful to them because he is faithful when we're not. But I think it's really important to remember that he is faithful to his promises, and that is redemption and grace, and it is also judgment. And so when God says something, it is true. and you can believe that what he says is going to happen. And that is also judgment. And so, we've seen them being warned over and over for hundreds of years. This is what happens when you're unfaithful to the covenant. And so it is going to happen. And so it's hard, but it's also, God is faithful.
Yeah. Even when he gave the covenant through Moses at Sinai, he says, if you turn away in these ways, I will not be with you, and you will experience my judgment. So it wasn't just warnings as that was happening. It was a warning in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Can I digress on something? There's something I remember that I thought maybe you'd have some insight towards. We've talked a little bit about like cultural context and in these books, just like the lineage of like a male-dominated society. But in here, when it comes to a lot of these like kings that's mentioned, like when they're introduced, we hear about like who their mother was. It's all like, oh, like almost right away. So
yeah, that's interesting.
His mother name was whatever, daughter of whatever, his mother name whatever, and I don't know, just in a book kind of chronicling, given the culture.
You like
and
notice
the time. Yeah,
when there's a mother or daughter
it
mentioned.
stands out.
Yeah,
especially as like these kings, these leaders, and it wasn't about this like, royal lineage stuff, which it is, but that they, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not trying to read into it. I just
I think it's a really good question, and I don't have an answer. I don't know why. I'm looking at the verses you're talking about. I don't know why it's mothers instead of fathers.
I'm just trying to jog my memory. Does it have to do with a lot of these kings had multiple wives, and so
Probably.
it's the king's son, but they're telling you which of his wives?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was
that
going to say,
came from?
it's line of David.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what we're talking about, and so they're trying to differentiate. That makes sense.
I may be wrong.
No, that's good.
Somewhere
That satisfies a little bit of curiosity I have when I'm reading it, just wondering, like, I wonder why. Because I had too many wives. It's like,
right.
Which one are you from? Okay, where were we? 20. It broke down high place. We're 24, or
Yeah.
Josiah dies.
So Josiah dies in battle. He dies just like the Northern King did in battle. I mean, it really is a parallel story. If you just sort of think back about what it looked like for Israel, it looks the same way for Judah. Even though it's a line of David, even though there's been these couple good kings, it's still the same trajectory for God's people.
But this kingdom, like how it does, like things are going good. Israel, it's like, things aren't the greatest.
Never gets done.
Yeah, I mean, all these other, So that's what was hard. Not hard, but it was kind of like, I felt like a letdown because things were going so.
Yeah,
it seemed to be so good, but it wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough. Which I will say, this is our reading plan, but I mean, I went and reread, Romans 1 through 8, Galatians, like just to remind ourselves that, no one, which we know, like we've been reading this over and over, like no one is actually good. Like you even see these glimpses of them departing from the way, and the wandering heart. But just it is a good reminder that the law is good. Like we can read that and go, the law is good. Do not sacrifice children. Don't have a million wives. Like love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and then bless other people. That's the heart of the law. It's good, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Like he found the law and he followed it. He really did. And it's not enough. It's not enough for us.
Yep. Okay.
Then we have a quick succession of kings, all evil.
And then we kind of get into
Then we're
Babylon.
introduced to Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
The story of Babylon, it might be worth, if you're looking for something else, to read the book of Daniel, because you get when Nebuchadnezzar takes people out of Jerusalem and into captivity in Babylon. And then in Daniel, you go from Babylonian rule to Persian rule, which is going to matter for us when we go into Ezra and Nehemiah. So that's just...
And again, that's the example. That's what I was talking about. It was helpful. I was like, oh, yeah. Because I know, like, in this storyline is played out other places in in Daniel.
Yeah.
With King Nebuchadnezzar specifically. There's a lot of stories in there. But it's those... This is all the one-time period in the province. So if you want more detail of what happens in these, you can go to future
Yeah.
books
Yep.
of the Bible.
And find those timelines. They're really helpful. But you do see, even in these stories, this sort of transition from Egypt as the, archetypal, like, this is the evil kingdom, like Pharaoh in Egypt. And then now we see it sort of move to Babylon.
Yeah.
And Babylon is going to be the epitome and, this symbol for the oppressive, evil nation.
Yeah. You got a
Yeah,
book? Or
I
something?
was gonna. Yeah, I did bring another book,
Yeah.
but just
I
because
saw you lean down there,
I
I
know, I was
wasn't
like,
sure if
well, I
we
don't know
could
if
do
I'm
it.
gonna get it, but
Just do it.
just for a visual, when you read the end of Second Kings, you read the end of Second Kings, and it talks about how the Babylonians came in and the things that they took out of the temple.
Yeah.
Like, it's just worth looking again at a picture of
Yeah.
the temple so you can see, like, this is the big bronze basin that they broke into pieces and carried off to Babylon. And if you go into this cutaway of what the inside of the temple looked like everything's overlaid with gold. I
Yeah.
mean, they're just ripping everything out, taking anything of value and carrying it away. So when I read this is where my mind goes. Like, okay, help me picture
Yeah.
all these things that were carried away.
Well, in the temple, again, like if we're thinking big picture, which is what we're trying to do, temple is a place where the presence of God dwells, right? The presence of God is everywhere, but it's this specific place where he is dwelling with his people. And it's been used and abused, and then we have these good kings who are trying to, purify it and be faithful to God's presence there. But I mean, now it's finally destroyed,
Yeah.
but they've been abusing it for a long time. Which again, we're going to see this foreshadowing of what happens in the New Testament. Same thing with this new temple that comes. It's, use and abuse for the wrong reasons with idolatry and selfish purposes, and then eventually it's going to be destroyed.
So this is ultimately where, like, the same thing that happened to the Northern Kingdom, Israel, this is what's happening. It's all like the Babylonians come in, kind of wreck shop on everything, and start swapping people out, moving people out, moving people in.
Yep. And it just ends.
Yeah.
It's not even like, at least when you read Judges and it's terrible and it spirals and does all that, there's like an epilogue that tries to give you some view of why, not just why all this happened, but why it was recorded and why it matters. And at the end of Judges, it continues to say, because there was no king in Israel. Here, you don't even have that. You're just like, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
Well, there was a governor, and then this last king, he was kind of let out of prison and able to, like,
Sitting at the table of the king.
Sitting at the table, whatever.
So,
But,
David's line exists.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not completely destroyed.
Yep.
There is that it's not the same kind of like, we know what the next step is going to be because he's still sitting at the king of someone who's an overlord over them in a distant land, but he's there.
Yeah.
So there is this glimmer of hope. It's really just to, I mean, we talked about Exodus a lot, but just exile, which we mentioned last week, but it's just so foundational to the rest of the biblical story. Just this experience of being in exile and even these battles and these people and the expectations. I mean, I think for us, when we get to the New Testament, it's hard to understand, like, why did they think Jesus was going to, like, be this, warrior who was going to destroy the Romans? Like, because we all want forgiveness and go to heaven, but, like, this is the story. This is why when the Messiah came, they were like, now when? Now what? Like, overthrow Rome and be the king again that we've been looking for. So just to sort of like hold on to that as we keep moving through the story.
Yeah.
This is very, very central to how the Israelites see themselves.
As an exiled people scattered.
Who long for even how messed up this was. They long for their land, for their own king, for their autonomy. For the golden days of David and the Solomon.
Yeah.
That's what they want to go back to.
So that gets us to the end of 2 Kings.
Yep.
And then we jump a little bit because First and Second Chronicles are really just a detailed account for a lot of what the stories we've read.
Same
Yep.
timeline.
Same timeline retelling.
So Ezra, I mean, we're entering into
So we're in
different
exile.
different
So-
type of literature going on, or is this pick up the same type, same kind of like history?
Yeah, same kind of, but also a bit prophetic.
Okay. What do you mean when you say that?
I mean, when you look up books of the prophets, Ezra, Nehemiah is usually there.
Yeah.
That's why. Ezra and Nehemiah, for us, are two books, but originally this is just one scroll. And even last summer when we taught through the book of Nehemiah, it's like we jumped into the middle of a story.
Yeah.
Ezra and Nehemiah go together as one story. And the reason we chose it in this year's reading plan, because we're going through the story, and we ended 2 Kings with exile and Babylonian captivity. Now we're going to pick up with what comes next. The people begin to return.
Yeah.
You have anything to add?
No, just as we read through it, though, they go together. They always have. They're also a little bit parallel. So you're gonna, whenever we read through them, like it's not like a continuous story exactly.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind too. But
Is it they both tell kind of the same thing? Okay, so
they're telling some of the same
Read
things. Yes.
the same arc.
Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful.
I highly recommend the Bible Project video before you get into it, or if
I should have
before you
done
go any
that.
further. And I'll point out a couple things that the video points out. What we're going to see are this repetition of three things. The Persian king is moved by God to send a leader to Jerusalem. That doesn't just happen once; it happens 3 times. Then, when the leader gets to Jerusalem, they face opposition in the rebuilding of the temple. And then there's a strange anticlimax to the story, and you're like, "Is that it?" But all wrapped up in this whole story of Ezra Nehemiah is prophetic hope. So again, 3 things: hope in the future messianic king, hope that God's presence would be in the new temple, and hope that God's kingdom would rule over the nations, and that the people of Israel could finally be a blessing to the nations that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, worth just thinking through if you're, reading other books like Esther or Daniel, anything like that. The people, when they're not in the kingdom, it is sort of a different identity. So they have the same story, but this is sort of when we move from they're the Israelites in this place with their own kingdom to they're the Jews. They're the Jews who are dispersed, and they're going back to their land right now, but it's whenever that sort of changes about who they are, because they never will return to the kind of kingdom under David or Solomon or the rest of First and Second Kings. So it's going to sort of change how they see themselves and how they interact
Yeah.
in the world.
It's because it kind of didn't work that way.
Yeah.
Didn't end up working out.
So when we go into Ezra, we've gone 50 years into the future.
From where we left off.
From where we left off in
Second-
2 Kings, roughly 50 years into the future. The Babylonians have been conquered by the Persians. And so now there's a Persian king who was really striking when you read the first verse. Hears from Yahweh. The Persian king is stirred in his heart by Yahweh and says, I'm going to send people back to Jerusalem to worship their God.
And there's, again, lots of Exodus, just verbiage. And we're supposed to be thinking, okay, this is a new Exodus. So we're going to be hopeful that it ends up looking like the first Exodus whenever they actually went into their kingdom. But I mean, remember we had the friendly plunder or whatever we said about it.
Here, take some of this.
Gentle plunder.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's they have the vessels and the gold and silver to go back to rebuild the kingdom and the temple. And so it just has a lot of the same types of things happening.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful. It's happening again.
Yep.
They're in captivity, but here we go.
And then we get into this detailed account of people, of how many people from each.
Yeah, it's like a census.
Yeah, census. And then but it wasn't just
All the people.
It was stuff too. At the end, camels, mules, male and female singers, horses.
Yeah, I mean, you have sons of Solomon, servants.
Yep.
You have priest. I mean, it really is like, okay, we're in captivity, but God is moving. And actually, this king listens to Yahweh's voice instead of Pharaoh, who hardened his heart over and over and over. And so they get to go.
It was interesting in like 59 where it talks about like just these people who couldn't prove their father's houses or their descent, whether they belonged to Israel. So like, or people later that they were excluded. Say they sought the genealogies, but they were not found there, and so they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. So
they couldn't partake in the holy food?
It just shows like it's just like a crazy mess like that when they were exiled, when they were scattered and like stuff's lost, and it is like, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just go to this land. Like this is actually the people, which right now the people are the Israelites.
Yeah.
They are of the 12 tribes of Jacob. That's who the Israelites are, and that's who's going back to this land. It isn't, I mean, we've seen throughout the story that Gentiles can be included if they turn to Yahweh and they want to be a part of it, but it is very specific to this nation.
Yeah. It was just 1 and 2. We're done
That's
after
it.
this? Yeah.
So it's hopeful. It's hopeful. It's devastating, but there's always hope.
So next week we pick up in Ezra 3. We go through 9.
3 through 9.
Yep.
All right. Well, until then.
You can subscribe to receive additional resources to help you study the story of Scripture at clearcreekresources.org. We'll see you next week.